Dillian the Body Snatcher right here. It's a champ. Big up to Sports Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Now, since the news broke that Big Baby Jarrell Miller failed a PED test for a banned substance via VADA that increases stamina and flexibility for obese, overweight people and old people, of course, as well. And it's a very, very dangerous substance. So far, he's failed the A sample. So whenever VADA, UCAD or any kind of anti-doping agency will test an athlete, they'd take 2 samples at the same time. So it's not like he's failed and now they're going to test him now to see what happens, okay? They would have taken 2 samples at a time. The first one's failed. So now they will request that the B sample gets tested. If that fails also, then obviously the fight's going to be off. Now, a lot of people are saying that Joshua should fight Miller anyway, okay? That's unlikely to happen. Whether Joshua wants it, Eddie Hearn wants it or not, makes no difference, okay? It's unlikely that that fight will happen because the WBA, out of all the sanctioning bodies that Joshua currently represents as a champion of, it will be the WBA that go, no. If you're going to fight him, then our WBA title will not be on the line. And if they did that, I would imagine the WBO and the IBF would quickly follow suit. So if Joshua versus Miller does happen, it won't be for the titles, okay? But ultimately, what's the point in having testing if you're going to fight him anyway? All right, but this substance that's been found in his system is it's not clenbuterol, it's not something like that, okay? This is a highly dangerous one, okay? Bodybuilders use it and overweight people use it to help them with their cardio and things like that. So it's a very, very dangerous substance, not only for Anthony Joshua, but it's also quite dangerous for Miller as well. Cancers can be found and as a cause of it and things like that. But for me, I think it's unlikely that the fight will go ahead. Now, again, I've been seeing that some Deontay Wilder fans over there in America, of course, we have a totally different time zone. I think these guys have been waiting up for the early hours of the morning just to wait for me to drop a video just so they can come in there and try and troll me over it. I don't really know why that you would do that. It's a little bit odd. Because it makes no difference to me whether Miller failed or passed, okay? The only important thing is that Joshua, who currently has the best resume, he's been taking on the toughest opponents, was going to go fight another American. If it's not going to be Miller, it'll be somebody else. Okay, so that really makes no difference. But the thing is, what you're forgetting is that currently the fight is still on. Unless the B sample falls down, the fight is still on. Okay, he hasn't done what Wilder done when Povetkin failed the A sample, which turned out to be contaminated because he passed the B sample. But before the B sample was drew, Wilder left the UK because he was here in Sheffield in the UK, ready to go over to Russia after he got forced into that fight after he lost the purse bid for the mandatory. But Povetkin passed the B sample, which is why he wasn't banned at the time. Okay, but Wilder already left. I'm not fighting him, whatever. Joshua hasn't reacted emotionally like Wilder did, okay? He hasn't run away. So far the fight's still on. But if the fight gets cancelled, which looks like it could be, it's unlikely that they're going to cancel the date. Why? Because they want Joshua to have a US debut on DAZN, okay? So it's huge money at stake on this one, so it's unlikely that they will cancel that date. So there's an article that I'm going to put into the description box where I noticed online where they are reporting that they've given 5 names that could potentially replace Big Baby Jarrell Miller as what the fans would like. Okay, so I'm going to debunk 3 of those right now, and then we're going to get into ones that are more legitimate. Okay, so first of all, Dillian Whyte. Okay, he's one of them. Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte will not happen at Madison Square Garden, in my honest opinion. It just won't happen. While Joshua has been training as in he's in camp, Dillian Whyte has been training, but not in camp circumstances yet. Okay, so it's unlikely that Dillian Whyte will accept a fight at this kind of notice. There is still quite a few weeks, was it 5-6 weeks away? So again, it's not really enough notice, especially for a world title fight or for anybody really. But ultimately, with the kind of offer that they offered Dillian Whyte of only $4 million, and then offered, they offered Big Baby Jarrell Miller $7 million. So the $3 million difference, Dillian ain't going to be too happy about those kind of circumstances. So if he was to take it, they're going to have to offer him some serious loot. So that fight's unlikely, but mainly for the reason they don't want to cancel June 1st at Madison Square Garden in New York, America. What's the point in having Joshua versus Whyte rematch in America? You'd do it in the UK, wouldn't you? So very, very unlikely that one could happen. But hey, listen, never say never. The other one people say is Tyson Fury. Now, Tyson Fury, listen, that fight ain't going to happen, especially on June the 1st. As I said, for DAZN reasons and America reasons. Again, why would you have two Brits fighting each other? Again, for the same reason. Also, Tyson Fury signed with ESPN. They want to build his brand before throwing him in there with fight. So if they're not going to put him in with Wilder on his first fight, they certainly ain't going to do it with Joshua, are they? Okay, because Joshua is like several levels above Wilder. So it just isn't going to happen. The other one, Deontay Wilder. People are saying that Deontay Wilder maybe can cancel his fight with Dominic Brazil and go fight Joshua on June the 1st at Madison Square Garden. That would be the ideal situation. But again, if you can't get him in the ring for 120 million, it just ain't going to happen. Okay, listen, Wilder is scared to death of Anthony Joshua. It is not going to happen. Will not happen. If it happens, I'll eat my underwear live on air. Okay, it just isn't going to happen. All right. So Wilder, we can certainly forget about that one. A lot of that is down to the fact that Wilder's scared to death. Now let's look at some possibilities. When Joshua was looking for an opponent, obviously they looked at Wilder first. Wilder just scared to death, didn't want the 40%. Okay, and then offered it to Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury didn't want 40%, he wanted a flat fee. The flat fee of however much it was, don't know, was it about $20 million, something like that, wasn't enough. Okay, so again, that one didn't happen. Then they moved on to Dillian Whyte. They offered him $4 million. Then it turned out that they offered Miller $7 million. So which fight did they really want? So again, then they moved on to Miller. Miller obviously accepted the fight. But they were saying that if they couldn't get the Miller fight over the line, they were looking at Luis Ortiz. Okay, so he could be up next. He currently doesn't have a fight scheduled, so this could happen. But again, is it enough notice? Is Luis Ortiz happy with a 6-week camp, 5-week camp for Anthony Joshua? But Luis Ortiz is southpaw, so he's complete polar opposite to Miller, and he's a lot more skillful than Miller as well. I'm not sure if he's as powerful as Miller, but he's certainly more skillful, and he's southpaw. Joshua's been training for a Miller-esque kind of fighter. So, in my opinion, Luis Ortiz would be a great choice, but is that enough time for Joshua to then adapt to a southpaw? It's easier for Ortiz because all southpaws, they're predominantly training for orthodox fighters. Okay, so it's no real difference for him, but for Joshua, it's a complete opposite, being that Luis Ortiz is left-handed. Okay, but it's still a very good possibility for me. I think that that one could be the one that happens. If not, then I believe it could be Adam Kownacki, Big Baby Jarrell Miller's sparring partner, best friend. He lives in New York. He's Polish and American. I think he had dual nationality, undefeated, but he's a PBC fighter. And we know that PBC fighters not usually allowed to fight anywhere else, even though they are, for all intents and purposes, free agents. Okay, they can fight anywhere, but Al Heyman has a very strong stranglehold over the PBC fighters. So maybe that one will stop it. But ultimately, why not? Okay, it's a PBC fighter who's not in line for a world title shot just yet. He is highly ranked in the WBC, and he was talked about as a voluntary for Wilder. Okay, and the Kownacki's looking real good. Okay, and he's very, very similar to Miller in the sense of his fighting style. His punch output is the same kind. He's a juggernaut. He just keeps on going forward the same way Miller does. So for Joshua to adapt from Miller to Kownacki, there's not that much adjustment. Okay, so that's probably the most likely one, in my opinion, because the PBC may allow him to do it in the hope that, you know, if he wins, great, we've got a unified champion on our books. If he loses, oh well, it doesn't matter. We've still got Wilder. So they're quite happy to risk Kownacki or anybody else, but they're not willing to risk Wilder. Okay, so Kownacki is a pretty good option as well. Other ones, there's names being pushed around like Michael Hunter. Of course, he signed with Eddie Hearn at Matchroom, so that will be an easier fight to make, you would imagine. And he's American as well. But his former cruiserweight, he's only had, was it 2 fights? At heavyweight, one was Martin Piccoli, which he beat. A lot of people seen that as a shock. And he beat Alexander Ustinov as well. Again, another decent win. So he's making all the right kind of moves. Is it too early for a world title shot? Bear in mind, he does have a loss to Alexander Usyk at cruiserweight. Potentially, yeah. And off the top of my head, I don't remember if he's ranked in any of the 3 sanctioned bodies, because one thing to remember is that Joshua must fight a top 10 in either the WBA, the WBO, or the IBF. Okay? Or maybe it's top 15 for one or two of them. I'm not too sure. But either way, they must at least be ranked top 15 in any of those 3 sanctioning bodies. I think Michael Hunter might be in one of them. I'm not too sure though. But it's a good outside possibility. Why not? The other one is his fellow Brit, Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce currently undefeated. His last fight against Bermane Stiverne. He has been ordered to defend his Commonwealth title and fight for the vacant British heavyweight title that Hughie Fury vacated against Daniel Dubois. Okay, and Joe Joyce is a very regular sparring partner for Anthony Joshua as well. So that fight might be okay to make, but again, he's a PBC fighter. But even though he's a PBC fighter, he's not in line for a world title shot anytime soon. You wouldn't have thought. So yeah, they may well risk it. As in, allow Joe Joyce to go fight Joshua. Could happen, but Joshua and Joe Joyce, they are pretty good friends. So who knows? Who knows? But for me, I believe it will be Luis Ortiz, even though he's probably the most awkward one, purely because of his fighting style, as in his southpaw, he's left-handed. So that's probably the most sticking point. But as of right now, Joshua versus Miller is still on. Until this B sample comes in, we don't know. All right, so anyway, I'm going to have a quick chat about the VADA situation as to why they took a month to announce this. Okay, so I'm going to do that one right now. As in right now, the other video should be uploaded in a bit, or just hang around, wait for it. So anyway, drop your thoughts below as to who you believe that if Jarrell Miller gets pulled out, that you think Anthony Joshua should fight, who's the most likely candidate. Okay, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, and of course subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.